Hey everyone, it's Professor Lamb, and we're going to do the Module 2 Solutions walkthrough. So let's start with the Hamming package. And it says we need to copy over our implementation from Module 1. So let's grab, I'm going to grab everything. From here up. We're going to have to make sure we get the name right. So we need to change the constructor name to Hamming exceptions again. And then instead of these print statements, we need to throw exceptions. So what exceptions should we throw? Okay, so we need to throw any exception as long as it has this message in it. That's a little bit confusing. Sorry about that. So we'll just, and I mean, you still want to try to pick the most descriptive exception type. So for this, it would probably be a legal argument. There's a bunch of different runtime exceptions, like a legal argument, exception, a legal state, but since we're dealing with these two parameters, I think a legal argument exception makes the most sense. And let's do the same thing for this one. And if you wanted to, you could do like a legal state here, since there should never be a left strand longer than a right strand, but let's just copy this message over. Did I grab the right one? No, I did not. Strands must be of equal length. And I think that's it. Let's save the file and run the tests. We need to add JUnit 5, run as tests. Great. So let's take a look at email now. And here we have a few different types. These are the exceptions we're going to want to throw. So if the email string is empty, we want to throw that. And an empty email exception. These are custom exceptions. All right, and all this code has been provided for you. That was nice. So throw a new empty email exception. And we don't even need to put in a string value, since we take care of that in the exception class. Then this would be the wrong top level domain exception. I think the rest are supposed to be invalid email format exception. So it looks like we're failing one test, and that's this test send mass email with no network connection. So there's obviously some instructions, but we need to throw this exception in the send mass email method. Here it is. And then, yeah, this was the whole point of that. I wanted to show you all that you have to handle checked exceptions a little differently than runtime exceptions. So since it's a checked exception, it requires that we handle it. It looks like this is the easiest solution. So we actually have to change the method signature here and state that this method throws that checked exception. Great, and that's all for that. Okay, now let's work on state capitals a bit. Here's the UML suggestions, but I suggested that you create a state object. So let's do that first real quick. So the state class should have a name and a capital city. Create a new class, and it's not going to need a main method. We just need two fields, name and capital city. And let's set those in the constructor. So we'll get a string C. And let's set the getters and setters. We'll generate them. Generate getters and setters. So again, I just right-clicked, went to, where did I go? Source. And then under source, you can do generate getters and setters if that's new. We also want a toString. That looks correct. And that's fine. So that should be good. Let's work on the quiz game class. After saving this, it says we can run it. Alright, so we need to do a little data processing to create a list of states. And so we should have these fields. I'm just going to copy this. Oops. So we don't want this here anymore. What we want to do is create a populate states method first. We can call that from the main method. So we don't have the method yet, but if you wrote this code as if we did have it, it would give you the option to create that method. So let's do that. And then this is going to confuse me if it's way down here, so I'm going to put it right here underneath the constructor. Alright, so what we want to do is take all the strings and extract. Oh, this should actually be states. What we want to do is process the list of strings, because right now it has that hyphen with a space. So what we can do is loop over the input text. Let's get the position of the hyphen, or is it a dash? I think we'll call it a hyphen. So int hyphen line index of hyphen. Hopefully that's the right character. And then what we can do is use substrings. So let's get the state name equals line substring. So we want to use the beginning index as 0, and the end index would be hyphen -1 probably. Let me think if that's right. Yeah, I think that's right. And then substring. Here we can just use this first one. I think we want to do hyphen +1. And might as well, since we're here, go ahead and populate our list of states. I'm thinking, so it's fine if the reference variable is a list, but I'm thinking we need to initialize this in our constructor. And we should just initialize it to an array list, a new array list. Oops, sorry. And we have to import that. And now we can add states to it. Add a state, new state, state name, city name. And now we have a list of states. So the next thing we want to do is play game. And I might as well create the next method too while we're at it. Display stats. Let's see. Let's create both of these and move them up. Oops, that's confusing. All right, so we're gonna need a loop. And I forget what the output's supposed to be like. Okay, keep going. Yeah, so let's set the string variable to yes. We can't use continue. Let's do keep plain string yes. And then we'll do our loop. While keep plain equals yes. I always just do it equals ignore case. Seems to work pretty good. Oops, this is a loop. And then let's go ahead and ask, let's get a random state. So there's a few different ways. And I like the idea of just doing a collections shuffle on the list. And then that will randomize the order for each game. And you can still go through the states sequentially. Although you need to loop back if you get past 50, so we should probably have another. We're gonna need another counter variable here for when we go over 50. What is the capital? So let's get a state from our list. That works. Guess we need a question mark. And I'm going to put our scanner before the loop so it doesn't keep creating a new one. And then we just need to compare it. If state get name equals ignores case, guess. Then we can say correct and increment our counter. Else we will say incorrect. still increment the counter, and we also need to increment the instance fields. Correct answers. And then finally ask, what was it? Keep going, yes or no. We'll set that to keep playing. So the only thing is the dealing with this counter. Once this counter reaches 49, we'd want to reset it. So let's think about that. We could probably do it anywhere. Let's try doing it at the very end of the loop. Keep playing. Yeah, so if counter equals 50, then we have to set it to 0. And then lastly, let's print out correct answers. What? I did something wrong. Okay, so there were actually 2 bugs in my code. Yeah, the index of the hyphen kind of starts before the hyphen. So we actually need to add 2 to the hyphen to get just the city. As you can see here, it was capturing a space as well. So I caught that by adding 2 print statements, and then the other bug was I was comparing the guess to the state name instead of the state's capital city. So fixing those 2 things, hopefully this is correct now. Atlanta. Okay, this seems to be going better. Here, I'll mess one up because I don't know how to spell Tallahassee. Yep. No, we are done. Perfect. Okay, so that is state capitals quiz. And for the last project, it was the plants EO. So let's go in there. And all your code. So you needed to read this file. This resembles a CSV, comma separated value, typical for how data is often transferred. And sorry, let's clear this. And then you have to reformat it after creating a plant field. You should format each record to be more like that. So we'll create a plant class with these fields and generate the setters and getters again. And I already put in some code from the module notes I added. So this already reads in the file. I haven't done the data processing yet, though. We'll still have to do that. But let's go ahead and create a new class. And all of these are strings except height. Actually, so this is going to be a Pojo, again, plain old Java object. And we don't need a main method. I'm going to put this over here so we can, let's see if we can initialize a bunch of these at once, or at least declare them. So Latin name, common name, family name, habitat, time, just call it season, and a double, we'll do height. So let's generate a constructor for this. Generate constructor using fields. Perfect. We don't need this though, since plant doesn't extend anything. Oops. And then we need to generate the getters and setters. Do all of them. And lastly, a toString. And let's, I guess we don't want any of them because we're going to have to create our own. So let's do that now. We could probably use this as a format string. Let's see if we can do that. I'm just going to close this temporarily. And what we want to do is use a string.format here. This is pretty much the same as printf. Oops, but not that. And wherever there's a field, we're going to put the string specifier. So it went common name, Latin name, common name, Latin name, family name, habitat, season. And we'll do a float format specifier there. So common name, family name, Latin, oh wait, no, sorry, I already messed up. Latin name, family name, habitat, season, and finally height. And that should do what we want. Let's break this up. Alright, so back to plants.io. We did the string, we've done this, and again, so I'm using code that I gave you under Module 2. You can find this. The way I prefer to read text files is using the paths API and the files API, especially this read all lines method. These are higher level libraries that don't deal with buffers at all. So I think they're simpler. So we need to create an array list of plant objects. And we could do it in the main method, might as well, since everything else is there. But let's try to do a little more object-oriented approach. So we'll do list of plants. Call it plants. Public. Create the constructor. I think it's going to be. Not sure we actually need a constructor. But this is going to have to be static, since we're going to have to call it from the main method. So let's kind of do something similar to what we did with the states quiz. So we're reading all the lines, capture it in this lines. So we could actually just use this. So for each line in lines, we want to create an array based on the commas. So let's try doing a string array. I'm going to call it ARR. And we'll split it based on the comma. So the split method returns an array separate based on this separator argument. We're going to use the comma. And then we have to go through this array and create a new plan. But I think we're going to want to create the variable names. Actually, why don't we create a plant like this? Plant equals new plant. And here we can just feed it directly from the array. So we have to remember the order of the columns, and we're also going to have to skip the first row because it's the headers. But in theory, this should work. We'll have to convert the last this last one to a double too. So is there 6 fields total? Yeah. So let's convert this one to a double. We'll do double, parse double, and put the array in there. And once we have that plant, let's add it to our plants. We should probably go ahead and initialize this here then as an array list of plant. Add plant. Okay, and then to write it out, I just changed it's kind of the same code as above, except we're going to use a new file path variable. And here, once we have our list of plants, all we need to do is create a collection of strings. So we're just going to need to change this code. We're going to call the toString on each plant and save it as a list of strings. So let's do lines to right. We don't want to do that. No, we do not. We want to create a new array list again. And then we want to loop over our plants. For each plant in plants, we will just add the toString. Lines to right, add plant toString. And that should be it. So we got lines to right, and that's what we're going to send to files.write. All we need is the correct name for the new text file. And we need to name it Learn About Native Plants. That's this one. All right, let's see if this worked. Oh yeah. So I did something wrong with the format strings in the plant class. Yeah, I just remembered that we need to skip the first column, and I never got around to that, even though I said it earlier for the record. So I think I'm just gonna do a skip or continue statement. Oh, and you know what? We didn't get the order right. So okay, let's take one thing at a time. If it starts with Latin name. So let's do if line starts with Latin name, we'll just do a continue. So we don't try to parse the word into a double. And then what was the other thing oh yeah, so the Latin name is coming first. So we need to fix that. Latin name first, then common name. And let's check the rest of this. Family name, habitat, season. So the rest of it should be correct. Let's try that again. And yeah, one more thing. If you wanted to test this, you could use some print statements, but let's just run it. All right. So nothing, yeah, we don't see anything, but hopefully it created a file. You might have to refresh a few times. Let's do refresh. And it looks like we have a new file. Fingers crossed. Somehow I still messed up the order. We shouldn't have that at all. But that should be an easy fix. I'm not sure what happened there. So the blank. Oh yeah. Let's look at the constructor. So okay, it is expecting. What we need to do is just switch the order here. So the common name is first. I guess actually we could keep that, and we didn't need to make this. We didn't need to make this change, did we? So I was wrong about that. Sorry. We can keep this code in order, actually, I think. And it should write over the file if it's already been created. That is another benefit of using this files API. Has convenience methods like, check if file exists, if not, create file. And this write method will overwrite an existing file. So let's refresh again. Perfect. And that is what we were looking for. The only thing weird is the doubles here are a bit long. So you could use a number formatter, but number formatter. Yeah, that would be another option. Bonus points if you use a number formatter. But that is it for this module. Sorry for the long video, but actually not bad. We got through all that in about 45 minutes. So thanks everyone.